Welcome to the 2024 Cabin Fever Challenge Awards video.
Howdy folks, this is Murray 3Bar D Videos. This year I was the host for Division 1 of the Cabin Fever Challenge. This year we received 15 entries officially for Division 1, and they are as follows.
That's 5. Now to kneeling.
In 5th place we have Bloke on the Range, shooting in Switzerland. This year he was using a Sudanese contract AR-10, chambered in 7.62 NATO. He managed to get 12 hits on target in a time of 71.82 seconds, giving him a score of 83.5. Excellent shooting, and I believe this is the first AR-10 entry we have received for the Cabin Fever Challenge at this time, so that's kind of neat. In 4th place we have Nick, shooting in the USA. He was using a M1 Grand chambered in 30-06 and managed to get the same hits on target, 12, but in a slightly faster time of 68 seconds, giving him a score of 88.23. So excellent shooting there, and what's interesting about this entry is this is, to date, the highest M1 Grand score we have received for the Cabin Fever Challenge. So Nick has carried the M1 Grand to heights it's never seen before. In 3rd place we have Justin, who is a fellow host for the Cabin Fever Challenge this year, and he was shooting in USA. This year he was using, once again, his AG-42B, chambered in 6.5 by 55, some sort of Swedish rifle I believe, and he got 1 extra hit compared to the previous entries. He got 13 hits on target in an even faster time of 65.6 seconds. Giving him a score of 99, so just shy of 100. And of course, I believe this is also the highest AG 42 score for the Cabin Fever Challenge as well. I think he's kind of the only guy that's used that rifle for the Cabin Fever Challenge. So excellent shooting as always. In 2nd place, we have AKM 295. This guy's always entering year after year. It's great to see his entries and the different guns he'll bring to the range this year, and he shoots out of the USA. This year he was using his trusty little M1 carbine, chambered in 30 carbine I believe, and he got less hits than the previous entries. He only got 11 hits on target, but he did it in a blazing fast time of 55 seconds. giving him a triple-digit score of 100. So that's pretty impressive, especially for the little M1 carbine. And, of course, as you can imagine, that makes it the highest M1 carbine Cabin Fever Challenge score to date. And also the third highest Division 1 score overall for the history of the Cabin Fever Challenge as of 2024. So just stellar shooting, and it's kind of neat to see the little M1 carbine outperform its bigger brother in 30-06. And then on to first place. This year it was taken by John, once again shooting in the USA. He was using an AKS 74 chambered in 5.45 by 39. He got 12 hits on target and did it in a slightly slower time of 57.19 seconds, but that hit to time combination does give him a score of 104.91 seconds. So that's a pretty good score. And what's really notable about that is it brings the AK platform into the triple digits, which is something I've been hoping to see for quite some time now. So excellent shooting on John's part. And what I find quite interesting about this video is how casual John is about getting into different positions and reloading his AK. But he makes up for the time big on his target acquisition and just landing consecutive hits on target in a short amount of time after he starts shooting. So it's kind of neat to see the kind of the pace of that particular shooter and the score it yielded. So very good job, and good job on everybody's part. We received a lot of interesting entries this year, and they were all very, very entertaining to watch. So I thank everybody for entering, and I look forward to seeing what entries are made next year. Take care.
Hey everyone, Ryan here from Oragear, and I'm here to present the results for Division 2 for the Modern Unlimited category. We had quite a few different competitors this year, and I think we had a good variety of types of firearms represented. We had a whole bunch of the more classic, closer to the earlier stage of the era, along with a bunch of more new options, a bunch of what would Stoner do carbines, a whole bunch of bullpups. It was a pretty interesting mix of firearms, and we're going to be running through it. However, first I do want to give an honorable mention. We had one person who was unfortunately disqualified due to the order in which they fired, but they still did a good job. They were firing an interesting firearm in a Tavor X95, so I still want to give recognition to them. They still did pretty decent, all things considered, but still, unfortunately, they were not able to be included in the final tally for position. That being said, we're going to go ahead and jump into the top 5 competitors where you'll see a pattern start to develop here. So from the USA, bringing a Ruger AR-556, we have Nick Westerman. He ended up with a total of 15 hits in 56 seconds for a total score of 133.93. Really, really good job. Obviously, now with all of these scores, we're going to be under a minute of total time, including the reloads with transitions. So really well done there. At number 4, we have entering from Switzerland, Bloke on the Range. So Bloke was running a What Would Stoner Do AR-15. So for those of you unfamiliar, basically a purpose-built lightweight rifle while still maintaining a lot of the features that you would expect from a functional fighting rifle. So running that, he was able to put in 13 hits in 43 seconds. Crazy, crazy fast, and with a score of 151.16. Considering the brutality matches that he participates in, this is definitely taking it easy, but he still pushed himself and again got 43 seconds total. Moving up from there, from the USA, we have AKM 295. He was also running an AR-15. I think this might be his best score so far, because he's one of the people that we see compete pretty much every year. And so he had 14 hits in 46 seconds, with a final score just beating out Bloke at 152.17. So basically 1 point of difference between them and Bloke on the Range. Moving on into number 2, this is a first time submission from this individual. We had On the Scout, also running a What Would Stoner Do AR-15. He came in with 18 hits in 56 seconds for a total score of 160.71. Really, really great job, again, especially for your first time submitting. Again, we're seeing another one of those What Would Stoner Do rifles there. But coming in first place, another one of our division leaders here for Cabin Fever 2024, we have Justin from CNR Collector. He was running a Palmetto State AR-15, pretty interesting configuration on it as well. He came in with 17 hits in 47 seconds for a final score of 180 point, I believe it was 8.5. I had to have the math up here on my... The print is really, really tiny on here, so cut me a break. Really, really well done with him, both combining fast speed with reloads and transitions from position to position, as well as maintaining a very high level of accuracy with only 3 shots not within the 8-inch circle. I'm going to go ahead and get on my soapbox as I do every year, and first of all, thank Brightful Chair for putting on this competition. He was the brainchild behind this, and even though he likes to give credit to a lot of us other division leaders, he's still the person doing a lot of the legwork to make a competition like this happen and make it successful, and also keep things posted on the Facebook page. So he puts in a lot of effort here, so I want to give him recognition for that. And then, as always, I also want to give a shout out to all the people that competed in the Cabin Fever Challenge. One of the things that I enjoy about the Cabin Fever Challenge is having a means of tracking my own progress as a shooter and seeing how I develop from year to year. I also enjoy doing it just once with each type of rifle. That way I can get an accurate representation of my skills, because again, it's mostly for me. And I did see quite a few other shooters doing that as well. People like Bloke on the Range and the Chap doing it that way. I always think that that's a cool way to do it. That being said, it's also really good to see what your personal capabilities are by testing yourself multiple times and seeing what the edge of your performance level is. So seeing a lot of the people out there who were able to run it multiple times and seeing that progression, I think is also pretty neat. We also had quite a variety of guns. Again, people like myself running a more classic style AR-15. We had someone running a Brownells retro rifle. That was pretty neat. And then you have very modern style of firearms with some of the various bullpups out there. You had the Chap also submitting from Switzerland, running it in hard mode with one of my lesser favorite modern firearms with the VHS-2. Not a particularly easy rifle to do particularly well with, in my opinion, but he still did a very good job, all things considered. So again, want to say thanks to all of the people who competed in Division 2 this year. If you want to know how I didn't quite make the top 6 people, and as you'll see in some of my colleagues' presentations later on in this video, I definitely had some struggles in some of the other divisions. But again, for me, it was a ton of fun. So again, thanks to Rifle Chair for facilitating this competition, and thanks to my fellow division leaders for helping to put this thing together.
Hi all, welcome to Division 3 Manual Repeating. This is Cabin Fever 2024, our results. We had a really good year, some really incredible feats of marksmanship, and really, really stiff competition. I saw multiple records broken, and multiple folks that should have been podium runs just continually knock each other off of the podium. It was really stiff competition this year. We also saw some brand new firearms brought into the fray, some new shooters, some old shooters, and everything else in between. I have 25, well, technically 26 results to get through, so I'm not going to do a whole lot of extra engagement on this because I want to keep this video reasonably short. So, let's get ourselves started.
Rolling.
Bringing up the back, we started off with Dan, who used a number 5 Mark 1, 2 hits in 122 seconds for a score of 8.17. 24th, we had Oragear. He was using a Springfield 1903 A3, 2 hits in 89 seconds for a score of 11. 23rd, we had the Chap. He was shooting an MAS 36 with 6 hits in 144 seconds for a score of 20.8. 22nd, we had Chris Sanchez using a Steyr M95. 9 hits in 176 seconds for a score of 25.57. 21st, we had Bill K. He was shooting a Finnish M2830. 10 hits in 191 seconds for a score of 26. 20th place, we had Chris Instone our only entrant in this division this year from the UK. So thank you for being involved. Always glad to see someone from across the pond make it in. He was using an SMLE #1 Mark III, 8 hits and 152 seconds for a score of 26.31. 19th, we had Wisconsin Triggercraft. He was using a Yugo M48B, 8 hits in 129 seconds for a score of 31. 18th, we had Matt Jackson shooting a Winchester 73, 11 hits in 153 seconds for a score of 39.9. 17th, we had Claydemore using a Savage 99, score of 10 hits in 139 seconds for 35.97 points. 16th, we had Jarkko from Finland. He was using an M2830, 9 hits in 121.5 seconds for a score of 37. 15th, we had Scout 308 using a Steyr Scout, 14 hits in 186 seconds for a score of 37.63. 14th, we had 57 Actual, also using a Steyr Scout, 11 hits in 141.65 seconds for a score of 38.82. 13th, we had John Springer using a #4 Mark I, 7 hits in 86.68 seconds for a score of 40.37. 12th, we had DMP in BC. He was shooting an SMLE #1 Mark III Star, 11 hits in 126 seconds for a score of 43.6. 11th, we had Sean Elliott using a Savage 110 Scout, 15 hits in 126 seconds for a score of 59.5. And now we head into our top 10. In 10th place, we had Sigoglin. He was using a Swedish M96, 11 hits in 92.4 seconds for a score of 59.52. And before I get into our single-digit scores here, I want to give an honorable mention to Gunther Schmidtke. He shot a Winchester 94, but due to range restrictions in his area, he was unable to be officially scored. He made 11 hits on a 4-inch target at 50 meters. Unfortunately, because we couldn't go the full length there, we weren't able to add this to the official score. But I do want to say, Gunther, thank you for making the effort and sending in your entry. I wish we could have counted it, but we needed to keep the consistency for the data, so unfortunately that had to be disqualified. He did make a very good effort, and I hope that you will enter again next year. Hopefully you're able to find some better conditions that are conducive to the challenge. So thank you. Moving on, in 9th place, we had Murray at 3-Bar D Videos using a rifle I've never even heard of before. It was a Bergara B14. He had 15 hits in 114 seconds for a score of 65.8. 8th place, we had Ryan Nix. He was using a Ruger American Ranch, 15 hits in 111 seconds for a score of 67.5. 7th, we had AKM 295. He was also using a Ruger American Ranch, 12 hits in 85 seconds for a score of 70.59. In 6th place, we had CNR Collector, also using a Ruger American Ranch, 14 hits in 96.8 seconds for a score of 72.3. I thought it was really interesting that the Ruger American Ranch showed up in such force this year and scored so well. Sounds like an interesting rifle. Maybe I got to take a look at one. All right, into our top 5. In 5th place, we have Finnish Rifleman using a Seiko A3. He had 14 hits in 94 seconds for a score of 74.46. In 4th place was yours truly, Distract Teach. This was the first received number 5 Mark I entry in the history of the Cabin Fever Challenge. It also happens to be the highest scoring run with a Lee Enfield pattern rifle in the history of the challenge, taking rifle chair off of his long-standing record with his own Lee Enfield. Score on this was 13 hits in 77 seconds for a total of 84.41 points. In third place, we had R. Loxon using a Ruger American, always a consistently high shooter. R. Loxon made 15 hits in 82 seconds for a score of 91.46. In second place, we had On the Scout. He was using a Ruger Gunsight Scout, and I was very excited to see this because the Ruger Gunsight Scout is one of those rifles that I hear a lot about, and it's something that everyone seems to always yearn for, but I really never see anyone who's actually got one or shooting one. It was good to see one put to use, and put to very good use. He made 17 hits in 86.23 seconds for a score of 98.57. Nicely done. And that brings us to our first place for 2024. This set a new record overall for the manual repeating division. This is our first score over 100 points. So this was really impressive. This goes to Bloke on the Range. He was shooting a CZ600 trail. Really cool to see one in action finally. And he put it to very good use. He had a blisteringly fast run with 15 hits in 73.34 seconds for a score of 102.3 points.
That was awful.
Looking through the data, that is officially the highest score and the first score over 100 that we've had in Division 3 in 10 years of this competition. So congratulations to you, Bloke. Very nicely shot. And I look forward to seeing what the new competition will look like next year and what our new scores turn out to be. It's a very stiff competition. So thank you all. I will let you all move on to Division 4. See you next year.
Well, hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Cabin Fever Challenge 2024 awards video. I am the division leader for Division number 4, Ethan Woods, and that's single-shot rifles. And let's go ahead and let's get on with who got what in this year's Single-Shot Rifles Division 4 Cabin Fever Challenge Awards. So let's start off at number 8. So coming in at number 8, we have Ryan Miller from the U.S. with his Springfield trapdoor rifle. He was having some issues on the range, namely with his bullets keyholing, and so he didn't really get any hits. So he actually has 0 hits in 89 seconds and 0 points. However, I do gotta say that some of his groups, even though they were keyholing, were pretty good. And coming in at number 7, we have Chap from Bloke on the Range, coming to us from Switzerland. He is using an 11mm rolling block rifle. It's an 11mm Egyptian. And he got 2 hits in 227 seconds, which actually gave him a score of 4.39. As he said, it's not about speed, it's all about grace. And to him, I've got to say, well done, sir. Now, moving on to number 6. I am from the great state of Kansas here in the United States, and I was using a Springfield trapdoor rifle, an 1866 model in 5070 government. And that's right, I said 5070, not 4570. And I got 4 hits in 313 seconds, giving me an overall score of 6.39. And I've got to say, my group wasn't too bad, especially considering I never actually shot that rifle before. Only problem was my group was about 4 or 5 inches too low, so yeah, know your weapon before you go into this thing. So coming in at number 5, from the good old US of A, we have Justin from CNR Collector. He was shooting a trapdoor rifle in 4570, and he managed to get 4 hits in 209.4 seconds, giving him a grand total score of 9.55. He mentioned that he was shooting full-powered 4570, and it was a blast, and to him, I do got to say yes. Full-powered 4570 in a trapdoor is a whole lot of fun to shoot in a hurry. So coming in at number 4, we've got Willard McBain from good old US of A. shooting an 1868 trapdoor rifle in 5070 government. So there's another contestant that used 5070 this year. And he did a little better than I did. He got a grand total of 8 hits in 146.5 seconds, giving him a grand total score of 27.3. Moving on to number 3, we have from the USA, hanging their cat, using a Bacal IZH18MN Daisy BK18 in 7.62 by 39, also known as the Lord's Caliber. I'm glad that it's in the top 3. I really do like that caliber. He managed to get 12 hits in 183 seconds, giving him a score of 32.79. Very good, hanging there, cat. Very good. Coming in at number 2 from Switzerland, we've got the bloke himself from Bloke on the Range. He was using a Martini Jagdstutze, I believe that's how it's pronounced, in 7.5 by 55 millimeter. He managed to get 14 hits in 190.75 seconds, giving him a grand total score of 36.7. So, very good, bloke. Very good. Coming in at number 1, we have... Drum roll, please. I'm so glad I got killed behind the camera tonight. We've got Rifle Chair from Canada using a Ruger number 3 in 22 Hornet. Yes, the founder of the Cabin Fever Challenge himself, taking number 1 place in the single-shot rifle division. He got 14 hits in 183 seconds, giving him a grand score of 38.25. So, just a couple points above Bloke. And to him, I've got to say, well done, sir. So we do have one honorable mention here today, and that is going to be DMP in BC. And he actually got 9 hits in 183 seconds, giving him a grand total score of 24.59. It would have, I should have said. The problem is this was shot with a Lee Enfield rifle, even though using the magazine cutoff. Part of the rules for the single shot division is that the rifle has to be specifically designed to be a single shot, so therefore we had to disqualify this entry. However, it was a very, very good performance, and I was pretty impressed myself, so good job, DMP NBC. So guys, that's all I got for you this year. Hope to see you next year in the Cabin Fever Challenge of 2025.
Welcome to the 2024 Cabin Fever Challenge, Division 5, Muzzleloaders. I'm your host, Tudanom. We had a very healthy 16 submissions this year from the United States, Canada, Switzerland, and England. Let's get into the scores. Before we get into the final 3, let's talk about some honorable mentions. Scott brought his family out to the range and shot the match with a 1795 Springfield in 69 caliber, but unfortunately his last 2 positions were out of order. His score would have been 2.39. Hopefully we'll see him again next year. Bill Scholberg brought out his .45 caliber TC Patriot pistol and shot the match with that, which was awesome. It goes to show that with some practice, you could do some amazing things with a pistol, but for the time being, this match is limited to long guns only. Bill scored an impressive 2.62 points. Bob B. from England brought out a super cool .451 Wesley Richards Monkey Tail and shot the match with that. The Monkey Tail is a black powder rifle that you load through the receiver. These types of rifles bridge the gap between muzzleloaders and single-shot metallic cartridge rifles. And wow, does it ever make a difference. So much so that Bob decided to voluntarily withdraw from the match. He believed that the rifle gave him too much of an advantage. Bob's score would have been a whopping 25.53. And it would have set the bar a little too high for most muzzleloader shooters to challenge. I'd like to thank Bob for showing such a high level of integrity, and for showing such a wonderful rifle. I hope we see him again next year. The top 3 scorers were super close this year. In third place we have British Muzzleloaders with his P51 Minier rifle musket, and a score of 13.01. In true British muzzleloader fashion, he brought a history lesson, comedy, and a demonstration of marksmanship, all in a period-correct uniform. His videos are fun and entertaining, and I highly recommend you give it a watch. In second place, we have Everything Black Powder in his Brown Bess musket, .75 caliber carbine. Everything Black Powder did all of his shooting in an amazing 111 seconds, with a flintlock no less. And he hit the target with a solid 3 hits. His end score was 13.51. Have a look at how he stoppers his powder horn. It takes a lot of practice to do that without breaking your teeth. It's just an all-around excellent demonstration. And in first place, we have Kieran James and his Parker Hale Enfield Volunteer in .451 caliber. Kieran scored a 13.89 and placed 4 hits in a nice tight group on target in 144 seconds. Kieran demonstrates that taking your time to get your hits on target makes all the world's difference at the end score. If you watch Kieran's run, you'll see that he has good solid positions, nice and smooth transitions, and a good, easy loading pattern. Those attributes, along with his 4 hits, ensured victory for this year. Well done, Kieran. I hope you get a chance to have a beverage of your choice to celebrate. Well, that's it for Division 5 in 2024. I'd like to thank all the people who took the time out to go out and shoot this year in the Cabin Fever Challenge. It was a lot of fun watching all your submissions, and I hope to see you again next year. Have a good one, folks, and I'll see you out on the range.
Hi, I'm Justin with the CNR Collector channel, and this is the entries for Division 6 22 Rimfire. This year we had 27 entries from 5 different countries. I'd like to start out with acknowledging 3 different entries that I did have to disqualify. Neil, Rick, and Gunter, I really do appreciate the time and effort that it takes to go out and shoot this course of fire, record it, and upload a video. And I do really hope that you guys decide to participate next year. Now let's take a look at the rest of the entries. In third place is AKM 295 using his Ruger 1022, topped with a 3-9 Weaver scope and using CCI Mini-Mag ammo. If we watch his positional changes, they are very smooth. And once on target, he has a very consistent pace. He scored 15 hits in 51 seconds for a total score of 147.06. In second place is Hang In There Cat using his Marlin Model 795, also using CCI Mini-Mag ammo. He puts down an amazing run, showing that iron sights can keep up with optics. He also demonstrates good form, efficiency of movement, and good sling use. He scored 16 hits in 54 seconds for a total score of 148.15. And in first place is Bloke on the Range using his Nordic Components AR-22 upper and KP-15 lower, topped with the primary arms 1-6 LPVO. He has blazing fast reloads and positional changes. The unique scope view also shows us the combination of sight picture and effects of trigger pull and the rhythm of his shooting. Bloke scored 16 hits in 37.3 seconds for a total score of 214.48. This is not only the highest score in Division 6, but it also sets a new all-time all-division record. Well, there we go. Another one in the books. We've got a couple new records set with the amount of people involved in Division 6 and a new record high set by Bloke on the Range. I really would like to say my deepest congratulations and thanks to everybody that participated this year, and I really hope to see you guys and even more participating next year. We'll see you guys next time.
Hello friends, my name is Rifle Chair. I'm going to be performing and presenting to you a statistical analysis of Cabin Fever Challenge trends and patterns through all 6 divisions, starting with shooter engagement and trends. The Cabin Fever Challenge has received 420 entries since 2014, with 106 entries alone in 2024. The Cabin Fever Challenge is getting more popular, and that means more shooters as we move into the future. How will more shooters impact the Cabin Fever Challenge? So starting in 2025, Cabin Fever Challenge will stop accepting submissions by email. All entries will need to be submitted using the online form to the website riflechair.com. This will remove human error from manually typing your data into the roll of musketry. This also saves each division leader a lot of time, effort, and keeps the data accurate. So future submissions can only be received through the online form submission. That is just for the benefit of knowing that your data is going to be accurate. Data quality management system. Division 1, vintage semi-automatic rifles, dominated by the SKS, with a total of 34% of all entries submitted over time since 2014 were people shooting the SKS rifle. This is followed pretty closely by the M1 Garand at 17% and the M1 Carbine at 16%. Division 2 modern unlimited rifles, we can see that the AR-15 is by far, in almost every measure, dominating Division 2. No surprises there. This is the only division where the next family of rifle is nowhere near the lead rifle, in this case the AR-15. Not even close. As we move into Division 3, manual repeating rifles, you can see that modern detachable box magazine sporting rifles has a very strong lead. These are usually the CZ600, the Tikka CTR, the Ruger American rifles, and so on. They definitely own the #1 spot in the Cabin Fever Challenge. The trends also show that the Lee Enfield essentially doubles the performance stats of pretty much any other bolt-action rifle out there below them. And that's a pretty significant lead. So the cock-on closing, fast action of the Lee Enfield, and a very capable caliber with excellent open sights. The Lee Enfield does very, very well in the Cabin Fever Challenge. So there's also been talk of splitting Division 3 manual repeating rifles into 2 divisions to reflect the modern technological developments presented by today's detachable box magazine sporting rifles, and it looks like this is going to occur as the competition moves forward. So stay tuned for more information on that. Division 4 single shot rifles, pretty much dominated by all models and variants of falling block rifles. Definitely the most popular single shot action type out there is the falling block, and they generally seem to be run by or have a fairly high variability of the Martini Henry style offers of rifles, followed by the Sharps and Ruger falling blocks. Division 5 muzzleloaders. Much more competition in this division between the top 2 and perhaps even 3 scoring muzzleloaders. The pattern 1853 Enfield squeaks through a slight lead over pretty much all Hawkins style muskets and Kentucky style flintlocks. 3 beautiful rifles, and are obviously very, very popular amongst the shooting community. Highly accurate muzzleloaders with quality locks and sighting arrangements. As we move into Division 6, 22 Rimfire, we see a pantheon of great Rimfire rifles here, but the clear lead in popularity still belongs to the 10-22 actions, Ruger, Bergara, Dlask, Volquartsen, Greybirch Solutions, Thompson Center. They all make great 10-22 variant rifles, kind of that whole family or genre of rifles. The iconic 22 Rimfire rifle is basically, it seems to be modeled after the Ruger 10-22 action, and they're highly popular, very accurate, and fast 22 Rimfire semi-automatic rifles. Taken into second place is your general AR style or AR configured 22 Rimfire rifles that are manufactured by a wide assortment of companies, and they're highly popular amongst shooters. And as we go further down the list, we'll see kind of miscellaneous blowback semi-automatic rifles that they include the Savage 64s, Marlin Papoose, the Model 60 Marlins, and so on, and really no surprises there. But that concludes a stat analysis of the Cabin Fever Challenge. Just some closing comments from me, Rifle Chair, the match official for the Cabin Fever Challenge. Since 2014, the Cabin Fever Challenge has grown on a pretty steep curve. The shooting community owns this competition, not me, even though I'm the one that's kind of been arranging it and facilitating it and structuring it and so on. It's also a very strong division leader team that we also have, the delivery team for the Cabin Fever Challenge, who has been absolutely amazing and just done an incredible, fabulous job when it comes to administrating the competition and making sure that your scores are entered and everybody's, that each submission is evaluated for conformance with the rules. And without the division leaders, none of this would have been possible. So since 2014, the Cabin Fever Challenge is kind of making its way through time, and it's time, I think, for the Cabin Fever Challenge to have a new match official. And so I am personally going to be stepping back. It's been a lot of work and effort to get it to where it is now, and I think that the competition deserves somebody who's going to be able to put the gravitas, energy that the competition needs in order to bring itself up to who knows where this is all going to go and what it's going to look like even within the next few years. And so I'll be stepping back, a new person will be stepping in, and I'll let him talk to you right here, right now.
Hi, Mike from Bloke on the Range here, and Richard has asked me to say a few words about taking on this challenge. First of all, I'd like to thank him an awful lot for having invented the Cabin Fever Challenge in the first place and for having run it for 10 years and grown it out of all proportion to how it started. Now, it is and remains and will remain a fantastic challenge of single distance, traditional marksmanship and musketry, under time pressure. And I think it's fantastic, and that's why we at Bloke on the Range have been promoting this the last few years since we discovered it and had the facilities to do it. Richard is still going to be in the picture in the background, particularly helping with sort of advice and the IT package he's got that runs the statistics and everything, because that's frankly beyond me, and I can't handle all of that myself. So he will still be in the loop. I've also been discussing some new ideas with him, and I'll discuss it with the division leaders when the time comes. The first of all is improving accessibility in terms of distances. Not everyone has access to a 50 metre or a 100 metre range, so we've come up with a mechanism by which other distances can be used that don't result in anyone getting a competitive advantage from doing it any particular way. So that should be a positive and increase accessibility, increase the number of people who can participate. We're also looking at adding a new division for traditional manual repeating iron-sighted rifles like this one, because at the moment they don't have a division in which they're competitive. So we'll carve it out, work on the definition of that, and there will be a Division 7 hopefully. There's also a few things in the rules I'd like to clarify, have some annexes with what is and isn't allowed in Division 1, for instance. So, as I understand it, most of the division leaders will stay on, but we need a couple more, particularly for the proposed new division. So, if you'd like to have input in this and participate and prepare a little awards video for the best shooters, please get in touch with us via the various social medias. So, thank you all very much. Onwards and upwards with the Cabin Fever Challenge.
Change is good. Change is all around us all the time. And the Cabin Fever Challenge is going to change too. But I would like to thank all of you, all of our shooting community. I would like to also thank our division leaders, 3Bar Do Video, Orgear, Distract Teach, the 11 Bang Bang channel, Tudenom, and the CNR Collector channel for making 2024 possible. And we'll see you next year. Cheers, folks. Maple Leaf up.